Who could you push aside?
Yeah, who do you think you can expose in that top 6, 7?
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with Martin Fitzwater, who came as a guest in the latest episode of the Bodybuilding and the Bollocks. So first of all, I do not remember Fuad being this active on his YouTube channel, where they are posting a new episode almost every other day. And actually that is really good, because it can generate so much hype, leading up to this year's Miss Olympia. So Martin and his team are expecting that they are gonna be in the first call out. So that means they're aiming for top 6. But the thing is, the question is, who does he take out to be in the first call out? And that was also the question asked to Martin by Fuad.
Who do you think you can expose more so than anybody else? I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to.
No. I think
So it was really brave by Martin that he did not try to sidestep this question, and he mentioned 2 names. Nick Walker's name was no surprise, because these guys were so close at this year's New York Pro, and Martin can actually expose Nick on the basis of his superior symmetry.
Nick, he barely got me in New York, and I think with the improvements that I've made and some posing changes that I've made that they didn't like how I posed at New York, I think that will be neck and neck again, you know?
And the other one was the former Miss Olympia Brandon Curry. So it is kinda interesting that even in the competitors' minds, the order at the top at this year's Miss Olympia, that might be Derek, Hardy, Samson, and Andrew Jacked. I mean, I get it because these guys are gonna be extremely hard to beat, especially if they bring their A games. And it seems like almost everyone thinks that Brandon Curry is extremely vulnerable this time.
Brandon, I think in the legs, I think that I can really outshine him now, especially with age is catching him a little bit.
So Martin seems extremely confident for 7 weeks out before this year's Miss Olympia, which by the way is gonna be his Olympia debut. So for the record, Martin did absolutely no cardio for this year's New York Pro Prep, and still he got insanely peeled. So him and his coach Stefan, they want to be that New York Pro look, a bigger and a more conditioned version. So Martin, in my opinion, is a top 10 guy for sure. His shape is absolutely insane. He has an amazing flow, very impressive aesthetics. And if he is able to make those improvements in his arms and his chest, who knows, he might even be in the first call out. But do let me know what you guys think.
Yeah, so I think we'll probably be 3-4 pounds heavier than I was at New York, with more chest and arms, and then the same conditioning, if not even a little better now. The way pictures are tracking right now, I'm a long pace with New York.
So it is that time of the year again, when everyone is making the predictions for this upcoming Miss Olympia. And up next are the top 3 of Michael Krizo, who unfortunately won't be sharing the stage with these guys this year. So Hadi Chopin and Derek Lunsford being number 1 and number 2. And very understandable, because they both have been in the top 2 for the past 2 years. And they both have improved tremendously in this off-season. But Andrew being in the 3rd spot, that is quite a surprise. And if he's actually able to do that, that is gonna be huge. And that is also gonna be a real change in the scene, especially for 2025. And you know what, there are people out there who are current IV pros who believe that if Andrew steps on the Olympia stage with the exact same look as he did at Texas Pro in terms of the muscularity, but maybe with a tiny bit better conditioning, with a more hardness and dryness, especially from the back, he has a great shot of placing top 3, or even fighting for the Olympia title, because he has the most aesthetic physique in the men's open right now. So he has that physique, where the eyes are just constantly drawn towards him, especially when he opens up for the front shots, like the front double biceps, like the front lat spread, and the abs and thigh as well. So in terms of Hardy and Derek, they are being coached by Hani Rambot, and he never misses. So it makes sense that Krizo has them both in the top 2. Now, if you are a fan of somebody, and the experts do not have your favorite in the top spots, some fans will get offended. But at the end of the day, the predictions mean nothing, they're just predictions. It gives us something to talk about. So, I'm gonna ask you this question. What are your predictions at 7 weeks out? And do you guys agree with Michael Krizo? Next up, we have a physique update from Blessing Awodibu. So it's definitely cooking something, with Samson Dauda and Andrew Jack being 7 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia, which means they aren't gonna be 310 pounds at this point. So that makes Blessing Awodibu the heaviest current IV pro in the men's open class at the moment. So 316 and still pushing. I have to say that is huge, because You have to understand, back in the day, this was the weight that only Big Romy used to achieve. Actually, he got to a high number, but you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. So Blessing is on a mission this time to make this comeback a very impactful one. So when he took the whole year off after placing well below his own expectations back in 2022 after Indy and the New York Pro, he went on to present his career's best looks ever the very next year at those same shows. And he actually won both of them. So once again, Blessing hasn't competed for almost 1 year now, and he has never been this heavy before. So he knows that the competition is getting better and better with every passing year. So he also needs to make some drastic improvements, especially when it comes to his legs. So the man is blessed with great muscle bellies, especially in the upper half. He is very round, very 3D, very bubbly up top, and that gives him the illusion of being very big than he actually is. If only he can bring up his legs, he will be a force in 2025. We saw a great pro debut last year by none other than Justin Shier at last year's Chicago Pro. So there aren't many bodybuilders who can say that they won their first ever pro show, but Justin was able to do that, and that too quite comprehensively. But his own expectations for his first ever Miss Olympia last year, they were just way too high, especially for a guy who has a very obvious weakness in the form of his back. He was lacking in the back development so much. So a very thoughtful decision was made by Justin and his coach Matt Jensen that they won't be competing at all this year, and they're gonna take this whole year off and focus especially on his back and bring up his physique overall. Now I have to say this can be a very tough decision for most of the bodybuilders out there, especially watching all these other guys going through the bodybuilding season. But Justin needed more than a few months to bring up his back, and he has been putting in the work. So Justin has one of the most classic looking physique in the men's open right now. He has those huge arms, super tiny waist, and great sweeping quads. His only major weakness is his back, which has progressed tremendously in the last 4 years. But at a pro level, he needs more density, more thickness. So I am really looking forward to seeing him back on the stage sometime in 2025 with a bigger but equally aesthetic physique as it was before. There were a total of 17 guys in the men's open lineup last year. So guess how many of those guys are gonna be missing at this year's big stage? 9. Yes, you guys heard that right. So Michael Krizo, Regan Grimes, and Charles Griffin, they're the ones who were in the top 10 last year, and the rest of them were outside of the top 10. So let's talk about Andrea Presti, a guy who made it to the Olympia stage for 3 years in a row. And you can add him in the list of those guys. One gonna be competing at this year's Miss Olympia, or won't be competing at all. But that wasn't originally his plan, so it was kinda too bad for Presti that he fell sick just a few days before this year's Emperor Classic Spain, and he lost quite a lot of weight during that recovery period. And that just broke his momentum for this year, and he decided to focus on his health and getting it back to 100%. Now realistically speaking, Presti would not have won either Spain or Portugal Pro, because guys like Behrouz Tabani, Nathan Diesha, and William Bonac were competing at those shows. And Presti no doubt has an awesome upper half, but he has a weak set of legs, and that really messes up the balance of his physique. But still, he is a 3 times Olympian, one of the best in the world, and his legs have also improved over the years. So Presti did post a physique update 6 weeks into training after going through his recovery phase, and he looks really awesome here. So another comeback that is scheduled to take place next year. But will he be good enough to earn his Olympia spot, especially with some of these new guys coming up? Well, we're gonna have to wait and find out. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.